Hello, everyone. This is Billy Price, co-founder of BILLY Footwear, and welcome to another episode of Open Book. So this is our 6th episode. Wow, we're just rolling right along. So those that are new to Open Book, well, first off, those that are returning to Open Book, welcome. I really appreciate you guys coming back. And those that are new to Open Book, I just want to give you kind of a quick overview of what Open Book is. So we get a lot of customers. We have so many fantastic and amazing customers that shop with BILLY Footwear. I mean, may it be through our own website, through billyfootwear.com, may it be through any of our retail partners. But, you know, a lot of folks are reaching out, asking not only questions about the brand or asking questions about the shoes and asking questions about just kind of the fit or how to order. But a lot of questions stem from, you know, kind of our background, like our background as a brand, how we came to be, and really where the brand is going. But also it's a matter of asking questions on who we associate with. Now, we have a lot of different associations, one with our retail partners, like I just mentioned, but we also have a lot of fantastic growing relationships with the customers, but also with nonprofit organizations. So we at BILLY Footwear, we've started a collaboration kind of vehicle that we've been able to reach out and work with a lot of these nonprofits to kind of share their story, because there are so many incredible stories out there, and it's just so fun to be able to elevate those stories on more of a public platform. Now, this is a live broadcast, so we're going to be having a conversation in just a moment that I'll switch over and bring in our guest. But this is a live program, so if you have any questions that you want to ask, whether it be about really anything about sizing, we do have people behind the scenes right now to be able to help answer those questions on the fly. So here we go. Let me introduce our guest today. Her name is Tiffany Crawford from Crawford Cares. So let me bring her in. Hello, Tiffany.
Hi, Billy. How are you?
Doing wonderful. Thank you so much for being a part of this program. I'm just really looking forward to our conversation.
Me too. Thanks for having me.
So Tiffany, I got to say, you have an incredibly touching story, which was really kind of touch and go at the beginning, but there's such a shining light that came from it, which then opened up a big door into such a much larger opportunity. So with that, just kind of big, broad statement, what I'd like to do is just kind of give you the mic to talk about the inspiration behind Crawford Cares.
Oh, great. Thank you. Hi, I'm Tiffany, from the founder and CEO of Crawford Cares. My nonprofit is pretty much, or I would say my story is the driving force behind my nonprofit. I was very young, or I wouldn't say very young, but at the age of 21, I had my first child. Perfect pregnancy. Everything was perfect. He received a vaccination, the MMR shot, at the age of 6 months. And within about 48 hours, we noticed that there was a change in behavior, his physical appearance, swelling. His eyes got yellow, like there was some type of jaundice. And we didn't know, what had caused it or what possibly could have happened. Taking him back to his physician to figure out what happened. We were immediately, or I would say, told to take him to Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. And when we arrived, unfortunately, they didn't know what could have happened. They were asking me all different questions. Had I traveled out of the country? Had he been out of the country? They didn't know what it was or how to treat it. So with doing so many different tests, it came to be that he had HLH, which is pretty much an autoimmune deficiency. As they said, it was like the sister of leukemia. That's how they treated it. So at a very young age, he was receiving a very low dose of chemotherapy to keep all of the HLH cells under control. And we decided to do a stem cell transplant since he was still young, which is taking the cells out of an umbilical cord and seeing if that will correct the HLH. And not knowing that those cells had pretty much moved to the stem of the brain stem, um, they agitated those HLH cells, and they pretty much called it graft versus host, like the big sister allowing the little sister into her room. And when the big sister didn't allow the good cells to pretty much host in there in the big sister's room, his body started to reject and caused a very bad seizure, which caused him to have a brain hemorrhage, bleeding on the brain. Um, at that point, we were only supposed to be at the hospital for about 6 weeks. 6 weeks turned into eight. Eight turned into 6 months, and that turned into almost to a year.
Right.
And after having that brain hemorrhage, he was on life support. He was on in ICU for about a month, month and a half, something like that. And the doctors had told me to start preparing because unfortunately his body had declared. There was no sign of life. Um, and I'm, 21 years old, first child. It seems like everything was moving around me and I was just there.
Yeah.
So I had to make some tough decisions, and we decided on a Thursday, that Monday, we were going to remove him from the ventilator. And so I was doing everything in my power to not be at the hospital. And I noted, I had to be there in order for them to proceed. And so on that Monday, I decided to make my way to the hospital, and the doctors kind of pulled me aside before even being able to see my son. And they told me, well, I don't know what happened between Thursday and Monday, but he's breathing 3% against the machine.
Yeah.
So since they saw sign of life, they decided that we were going to work with him and build up pretty much his lungs and challenge him to start breathing on his own. So the whole process was very, very long. It was very, very emotional for me, not knowing what his quality of life would be. And now we are here 14 years later.
Yeah.
And that is my driving force behind Crawford Cares. Being that I gave birth to a physically healthy, perfect baby, to having to rebirth a child who needs a little bit more attention and a little bit more accommodation. So Crawford Cares is all about creating that inclusive environment for those with special needs. Being that he is 14, we've done different school environments. We've done, kids or kids, birthday parties, or any type of event where they don't really accommodate the special, I would say, those with special needs. They say they do, but to a certain extent. And you would go to a school or go to a child care environment, and come to find out that they're not equipped, or um, personally feeling that they don't have, that personable touch that you will give your child. So that's why I decided to go ahead and push forward with Crawford Cares, because I feel like this is my purpose in life, to bring um, awareness to our kids that may use a wheelchair, that may have a prosthetic, or that may need some type of, whether it's developmental disabilities or intellect or physical disability, they just need a little bit more special accommodation. And so, with the main purpose behind Crawford Cares is to create that environment to where they're not looked at any different than the next kid, whether they're in school. So I'm all about including them and not excluding them in certain activities because of their disability. So that's my story in a nutshell.
I mean, wow. I mean, Tiffany, first off, thank you so much. I mean, there's so much that I'd love to unpack from that story. I mean, just to start, like if we can back up just a tad, I mean, that moment in time where like essentially you were presented with zero hope. I mean, there was a moment where it was just like being forced to have to say goodbye, and
Yes.
yet 4 days later, then all of a sudden the pendulum completely swung in the other direction, and then hope did exist, and then to be able to take that sliver of hope to make it bigger, and then to be able to pay that hope forward into a much larger audience. I mean, I don't even have the words to express how amazing that is. So I mean, that's just coming to me right now. I mean, that's just, thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for the opportunity. So, with the different hurdles that I've gone through, whether it's finding shoes,
Yeah.
that was one of the biggest hurdles as he got older, only because the brain hemorrhage, which is a lot known as a stroke, has left side paralysis, and he had what I would call the ballerina foot, where the left foot would not go flat.
Mhm.
And so we were working with different orthopedic surgeons. We had surgery, and with him being still growing at a normal rate of a 14-year-old boy, buying shoes or finding shoes was very hard, very expensive. There is certain retail stores that will allow you to buy two different size shoes. There are certain retail stores that will allow you or give you a discount. But in my case, I had to buy two sizes. So I was buying a size, let's say at this time, a 7 and then a 6.5 to accommodate his AFO. And his therapy unit mentioned BILLY Footwear. And so that's how I came and I found you guys. And at the time, you were only making shoes up to a size 6,
Right.
which I reached out to you, and surprisingly, you responded. And I was like, wow, telling me, we're actually working on the bigger sizes. Look forward in November. And I believe I signed up to the newsletter and I received the alert. And ever since then, like, they work perfect, they're fashionable. I even feel like I need to buy me a pair. But for the most part, Antoine has about 4 or 5 different pairs. They work with his AFO, and it's not a big bulky shoe. It's, like I said, it's still fashionable. And so many parents, they do ask, like, where did you find those? How did you find a shoe to fit his AFO? And they're not, very expensive. So that was one of my things. And you guys also work with us with having to buy two different sizes.
Right.
So that was like very, I would say, a hidden gem that I happened to stumble upon. So I'm very thankful and
Yeah.
grateful to that.
Well, it was wild. I mean, when we first basically launched our e-commerce, the idea of having two different size shoes, having those sold as a single pair, that never really crossed our mind, and because we just didn't know of the need. And somebody reached out asking the question, and we basically said, "Sure, okay. Well, we don't know how to do it quite yet, but we'll figure out a way." And it's been awesome to be able to add that kind of value, because it truly makes, like, something really small like that. It's incredible how much a difference, like big difference, just a small, like, that type of action can make. And I mean, I think that's truly like the backbone, that doing those gestures. Like, I think that's the backbone of Crawford Cares. I mean, it doesn't take massive change to make a big difference. You can make small little differences in the community, and it can really have a ripple effect of positivity.
Yeah, I mean, just knowing that there is someone out there who have been or who are dealing with, something that a life-changing, I would say, incident that they feel like they can relate to. The fact that we are, they're the special needs community or those kids with special needs, they're big size or big percentage in the community, but at the same time they're left out. And so when the parents feel like they have some type of support or they can go to and relate to someone on the same level, I think that makes a very big difference in the special need community, because you don't want to be that parent who feel like you can't relate because you have friends who have kids that don't have special needs or they can't relate. So the ultimate goal for Crawford Cares is to open up a center that will be able to have buddy systems where we can buddy up with different families and we can educate different families and have resources not only to those who have special needs, but that's my main focus, but to also bring awareness to the community that these are the kids that are not invited to certain birthday parties, or who are invited but they can't participate because they have a special need that need a special accommodation. So that is the main goal for Crawford Cares. And I reach out to the community. I have different events where I just want to get that portion of the community, or the portion of the that special need demographic to be known, like, hey, we're here too, we like to do this.
Right.
So that whole inclusion thing is very very important for me.
Yeah, and I'm glad you just used that word, because I was about to jump in and throw that in there, because that was one of the things that drew me so much to your brand, really. I mean, your nonprofit, but just the messaging. It's truly inclusive. It's not a matter of just creating something just for like a selected group. It's a matter of, like, yes, making sure they're included, but making an environment that everyone will want to enjoy, that overall sense of just complete community, which, I mean, I think we both feel really is the definition of inclusion. It's everybody can come in and be
Everyone is
successful.
included. Yes, there is
Yeah,
something here for everyone. There is
right.
something at Crawford Cares for everyone. And we are just saying, hey, we have this, I always call them special spirits
Yeah,
that need, a special, whether it's a pair of glasses, whether you need a walker, whether you need, AFOs or iPads to communicate. I don't look at it as a disability. It's a, it's clearly just you have special accommodations. And I mean, to some point, everyone has special, accommodations to some point. So that is exactly what I stand behind. Everyone has some type of special accommodation.
it sounds like you're already getting a phone call for someone to donate.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
Well,
That
speaking of
would be
donations, actually,
very great.
you just had a recent what was it? It was a backpack drive, and I think there was more like school supplies, right?
Right. So every year normally, and this was before we got with, or before I was um deemed a tax exempt 501(c)(3) nonprofit. Every year I would take my own money and I would buy school supplies. Because I feel like every kid looks forward to having something new going into the school year. And a lot of the times, if you are in a family where there's more than one child, or the parent may not be able to provide you with everything, kids find themselves sharing, and sharing is perfectly fine, but to know that you have something new to take into the school year, it gives you a sense of, like, I would say your confidence is boosted a little bit, and that's always good to see a kid smile, because they're able to pull out their own notepad or their own pencil. So every year, I would go out and spend my own money and buy school supplies, and I would post on social media, and I would ship backpacks through to all, throughout the country, whoever would reach out. And so this year was my first year of really doing a public event, after getting my 501c3, and then the corona hit. So we didn't know, what was to happen. We didn't know if the schools were going to open, but I still felt like I needed to continue on. So with everything that's going on, the kids need some sense of normalcy. So I decided to push through and continue to do the backpack giveaway with a little twist. So instead of me having the public event, I did, and I am still accepting those registrations to receive now what I'm calling it is a Crawford Cares pack. So you receive, there are activity books, they are some board games, travel size board games, and there are also exercise books based on the grade level that your child is in. And we just ship those out. And that, I felt like that is probably what I would say that was the positive out of this whole pandemic, is taking me back to the original way that I started things. And so that's exactly what we're doing.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, coronavirus, COVID, I mean, it's affected us all for sure. And it's really made us kind of, well, I mean, it's just changed everything. I mean, it really has. I mean, the way we approach things. I mean, I know you and I were talking about earlier about just when it comes to virtual learning for the kids, right? I mean, to be able to engage in more virtual space for education. I mean, and then plus being at home, and then as a working mom, like having to navigate how that works when you put on your teacher hat and then your mom hat and then everything that's attached to just household, and then let alone if you have more kids. I mean, it's just a very dynamic world at the moment on the home front.
It is very, very demanding as well. I tell a lot of people, if you hear my son, he's my coworker. So this is our new normal. And for the most part, you're at home, you may see a cat or someone pass by the Zoom. That's just the new normal now. So with my coworker, you might hear him sometimes. And it's just, say hi, he'll say hi back. But for the most part, I would say the challenging part with the virtual learning and those who are special ed in certain schools, the virtual learning platform is not suitable for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those kids, they like to interact and they learn, face to face better versus sitting in front of a computer. And the instruction is not the same for every child. And I learned that just over the past summer with my son, doing his virtual learning on the simple platform. And I had to kind of make it like a video game in order to get him to be engaged. And also take my own personal time and do the handwriting exercises, because some kids can't maneuver and use the computer.
Yeah.
So I think with the virtual learning platform, a lot of our special needs kids will possibly be left behind if they don't have, that parent that is able to give that extra that or go that extra step with their kids to make sure that they can, kind of keep them afloat through this whole pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're all looking forward to being able to, get back into more communal spaces for sure, because there's so much value that we're now. I don't know if it matter we forgot about it, but I mean, it's one of those things that you don't really realize that you have until you lose it. And now not really being able to meet in those public spaces and engage face to face and to be able to do that big hug. I mean, it's all in the spirit of safety, but it's also it also poses challenges for sure. So speaking of locations, because we have people listening in from all over the place, where are you based out of?
I am based out of Compton, California.
Okay.
So I am in California. I would say, my biggest, for those who love the Chargers, where their temporary home is, the StubHub Center. I'm literally about 5 minutes away from there. So
Okay.
yes.
Okay, so that's geographically, that's awesome. And then, but virtually, how can one find you virtually?
So virtually, we have Instagram platform. It's Crawford _cares. We have a live website, which is crawfordcares.org. We are on Twitter, which is the same, Crawford_cares, and Facebook is Crawford_cares.
Awesome. And we also have a collaboration going between Crawford
We
Cares and BILLY
do.
Footwear. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe if you go to the bio of your Instagram,
Yes.
there's a link to, what's it called? Smart something.
It's Super Social. Super Social is the link in our Instagram bio. And on that link, you're able to find out more about Crawford Cares, and you're also able to find the BILLY Footwear collaboration link as well.
Correct. So for those that are listening, if you go to that link and you click on BILLY Footwear through that channel, it is an affiliate link, which will then, if you purchase your shoes through that channel, it will give a donation back to Crawford Cares. So that's one of the collaboration opportunities that we've been very excited about being engaged with to be able to have some sort of give back to Crawford Cares.
It's great.
So we have, I mean, these programs typically run for about 30 minutes, and we're within the last 5 minutes. And before I kind of sign us off, I just wanted to give you, Tiffany, one last kind of opportunity to just kind of share whatever's on your heart.
I just want everyone to know that it's I'm very passionate about what I'm doing. And we don't want to leave out those kids, or even those young adults, or even adults that may have some type of special needs. And during this trying time, it's very important that we kind of keep them on schedule and keep some type of normalcy, and also check in on them. This is a time where depression is very high, and kids or young adults with special needs may not know what that is. But for a parent or a loved one to identify that is very, very important to try and do so. If anyone is out there listening, may need to just reach out and ask for any type of resources or some type of support. We can even just have a Zoom call to kind of see if we can relate on some type of level. We are available for you all. We have different events coming up that we are looking, and looking and having those kids with special needs on the front line in our minds day after day, to make sure that those babies are not left behind during this pandemic and the challenges that we're facing today.
So well said, boy.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. I mean, that was incredible. So everyone, thank you, Tiffany, so much. I mean, everyone, that wraps up kind of our episode 6. Thank you again, Tiffany, for sharing your story and sharing just everything that Crawford Cares is about. I mean, this is really special.
Yeah,
everyone,
thank you.
Yeah, our pleasure. Let's keep stepping on you. Next week, next Wednesday, we'll have another open book. Next week, we're working to have really a cool story that is really part of the BILLY Footwear story, where in September of 2018, we ended up having a social post go viral, where in 3 days' time, that post was shared 280,000 times on Facebook.
Wow.
And with that moment in time, there were a lot of people that found out about the brand in a hurry, which opened up a lot of doors for us to be able to reach a lot of people. So next week, please tune in to hear about that story. Everyone else, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you again, Tiffany.
Thank you.
All right.